She was the sun I orbited from afar in high school, the dream I never dared to speak aloud. Years later, the universe astonishingly threw us together again, and the dream became reality for a while. We built a life, shared laughter, whispered secrets under starry skies. Then, reality bit hard. My quiet ambition wasn't enough. My paycheck didn't match her vision, and she left me for someone who offered more. Materially, anyway. The cycle turned again. Years passed, he broke her trust, and suddenly she was back, asking for the very thing she'd thrown away. But the boy who worshipped her shadow was gone, replaced by a man who finally understood his own worth. This is the story of loving, losing, and learning that sometimes the happiest ending is writing one for yourself. High school. For me, it wasn't about football games or finding my clique. It was mostly a masterclass in invisibility, punctuated by the moments my gaze inevitably locked onto her. Maya Reyes. Luminous. That's the word that always stuck. It wasn't just that she was beautiful, and she was, stunningly so, with dark hair that seemed alive with light, and those bright, mischievous eyes I prayed would one day land on me with interest. No, it was more. She carried herself with an effortless grace, always surrounded by friends, her laughter like music in those drab, noisy hallways. She seemed completely out of reach, especially for a guy like me, whose defining characteristics were shyness and an uncanny ability to overthink myself into paralysis. I knew her schedule by heart. 3 rows ahead, 1 seat left in Henderson's Algebra 2 torture chamber. Yogurt parfait from the cafeteria on Tuesdays. Volunteering at the animal shelter Saturday mornings. I knew that because one time, fueled by a rare surge of courage, that felt dangerously close to creepy. I'd vaguely followed her group after school and spotted her through the shelter window, melting over a box of kittens. I rehearsed countless conversations in my head. Fantastical scenarios. I'd drop my books. A classic, I know. She'd help, our hands would brush, she'd flash that incandescent smile, and I'd deliver some impossibly witty line. She'd laugh that musical laugh, and, well, the fantasy usually dissolved there, unable to process such perfection. Reality, however, was a cruel editor. If she glanced my way, I froze. If she came within 5 feet, my throat seized, palms slicked with sweat, witty lines evaporating into pathetic, mumbled sounds. Chances flickered past like fireflies. A dropped pen landing near my shoe. Sharing a lab table in chemistry, her asking for spare goggles. A moment alone at the water fountain. Each time fear won. The crippling fear of rejection, of saying the wrong thing, of shattering the perfect image by inserting my awkward reality into her bright world. I kept my lips sealed. I watched her go to prom with the football captain. Saw her beaming in graduation photos, surrounded by her usual sparkling entourage. And then, high school ended. Maya Reyes, my silent obsession, vanished from my life, leaving only the dull ache of words unsaid. The years after graduation trickled by. I navigated the world with a quiet persistence, partly my nature, partly forged by that lingering teenage regret. I went to local college, studied graphic design, not glamorous, but creative, something I genuinely loved. Financially, I wasn't exactly soaring. I worked my way up from entry-level gigs to a junior designer spot at a small marketing firm. It paid the bills, kept a modest roof over my head, and funded my simple pleasures. Sketching, hiking trails, getting lost in old black and white movies. I dated a bit, nice enough girls, but no sparks flew. Nothing came close to that consuming fire Maya had ignited without even knowing it. I occasionally wondered about her. Probably married the captain, living large, her life as effortlessly golden as it had always seemed. Then, nearly 8 years after we'd last shared a hallway, came a Tuesday. Gray, drizzly, the kind of afternoon that drives you indoors. I sought refuge in my usual haunt, the daily grind, craving warmth and caffeine. Shaking off the rain, I ordered my Americano black and scanned the cozy space for a table. And I saw her, alone, near the window, nursing a latte. Maya Reyes. My world tilted. She looked different, older, more polished, yet fundamentally the same. The youthful energy had matured into a kind of composed sophistication. Shorter, professionally, styled hair, but still that dark gloss. A smart business suit replaced the memory of band tees. She was frowning slightly at her phone. My heart launched itself against my ribs, that old familiar teenage panic. Flee, my instincts screamed. Run back into the rain. What could I possibly say? Hey Maya, remember me? The quiet weirdo who stared at you constantly? But something held me there. 8 years had passed. I wasn't that kid anymore. I had a life. Maybe a quiet one, but mine. I'd survived disappointments, navigated the job market, paid my own rent. My identity wasn't solely defined by my high school cowardice. Taking a deep breath, smelling the comforting roast of coffee beans, I walked towards her. Maya? My voice came out surprisingly steady. Maya Reyes. She looked up, startled. Those sparkling eyes widened. First confusion, then recognition. Alex Johnson, wow, hi. A hesitant, beautiful smile. It's been ages. Yeah, I managed, smiling back, a warmth spreading through me that chased away the damp chill. It really has. Mind if I sit? Place is packed. Oh, sure, please. She gestured to the empty chair. The conversation started with the usual awkward dance of catching up, college, work, life. But the stiffness soon dissolved. We laughed about high school memories, shared mock horror stories about Mr. Henderson. I learned she hadn't married the captain, had studied business, and was now deep in the high-pressure world of finance. She asked about my design work with what seemed like genuine curiosity, even complimenting the coffee shop's logo, a project my firm had actually handled. Talking to her felt easy. Surprisingly so. The untouchable goddess image I'd built disintegrated, revealing a real person. Smart, driven, maybe a little stressed by her job, but engaging and warm. Her laugh was still music, but now it felt close, attainable. That coffee led to another, then dinner, then movies, walks in the park. A tentative friendship bloomed, rapidly warming into something more. It felt surreal, like stepping into one of my old daydreams, but infinitely richer, messier, real. Maya was funny, passionate, and refreshingly down-to-earth beneath the corporate armor. She seemed genuinely interested in my life, my art, my quiet way of seeing the world. We fell into a relationship. It was both dreamlike and utterly natural. For me, it was everything I'd silently yearned for years ago. I threw myself into it completely, showering her with affection, thoughtful little things, the unwavering loyalty that was just part of who I am. I designed custom cards for her birthdays, planned weekend hikes to my favorite hidden spots, cooked dinners in my small kitchen that always seemed too tiny when she was there, filling it with her presence. For 2 years, life was brilliant. We built routines, merged friend circles, spent holidays weaving our lives together, even tentatively talked about a future. I was incandescently happy. I loved Maya, completely. I truly believed I'd found my person, my missing piece. But then, almost imperceptibly at first, hairline fractures started to show. Her finance job was a pressure cooker, often leaving her drained and stressed. Our conversations began to tilt heavily towards her work, her colleagues' promotions, their bonuses, their expensive toys. And then came the comments about my career, My life. Subtle jabs disguised as casual observations. Sarah's husband just made senior VP. They're looking at houses out by the lake, she'd mention, while we ate the pasta I'd carefully prepared. Or, saw Mark from accounting's new BMW today. Must be nice not having to circle for parking. I tried to be patient, understanding. Her world operated at a different speed, valued different markers of success. I was working hard, taking on more complex projects, building my portfolio. My progress wasn't explosive, but it was steady, meaningful to me. I tried explaining that graphic design offered different rewards: creativity, fulfillment, a life outside the office. But Maya seemed increasingly unimpressed. The compliments on my sketches dwindled. The appreciation for my carefully planned, non-extravagant dates faded. Arguments began to simmer, always circling back to security, ambition, money. "It's not just the money, Alex," she'd insist, though it felt increasingly central. "It's about drive, about wanting more. Don't you want more?" "I want us, Maya," I'd plead, that familiar knot of anxiety tightening in my gut. "I'm building my career. It just takes time." "Time keeps moving, Alex," she'd retort, her voice gaining an edge. "I see my friends building these huge lives, and we're just comfortable." My quiet contentment started to feel like a character flaw under her gaze. My job, my passions, felt inadequate. The easy joy we shared began to erode, replaced by a persistent tension, a hum of dissatisfaction. The laughing, relaxed Maya I'd reconnected with seemed to recede, replaced by someone anxious about keeping up, measuring our life against others. Then came the night it all imploded. She arrived at my apartment looking pale, her jaw set. She didn't take off her coat, didn't sit down. "Alex," she said, her gaze fixed somewhere over my shoulder. "We need to talk." I knew, instantly. The air thickened, charged with an awful finality. "I can't do this anymore," she stated, her voice low, controlled. "I care about you, Alex. I really did. But we're on different paths. I need someone whose goals align more with mine, someone who can offer a certain kind of future. Someone with a better job," I said, the words tasting like ash. Hurt made my voice rough. She flinched but didn't argue. "It's more complex than..." "Is it?" I interrupted, the years of silent high, school admiration souring into bitter clarity. "Or is it just that my paycheck isn't big enough? That my ambition doesn't wear an expensive suit?" "It's about stability, Alex. Security. Not worrying all the time." Her voice cracked with defensiveness. Then, the final blow. "I've met someone. Marcus. He's established. He gets my world. Marcus. Established. Secure. Everything she thought I wasn't." The breakup unspooled quickly after that. My tears, her clipped justifications, and then the profound, echoing silence after the click of the door. She was gone. Again. The first time, it was my own fear that kept us apart. This time, it was her choice, a rejection so sharp and specific it cut deeper than any teenage insecurity ever could. The fallout was brutal. I felt hollowed out, scooped clean. Losing Maya was bad enough, but the reason, my perceived failure, to measure up financially, felt like a damning verdict on my entire existence. It validated every quiet fear I'd ever harbored about not being enough. Months blurred into a gray fog. My work suffered. My apartment felt like a tomb. The city lights, once romantic beacons shared with her, now seemed mocking. I replayed every argument, every critical comment, dissecting them endlessly, searching for where I'd gone wrong beyond choosing pixels over portfolios. But time and the unwavering support of a couple of good friends who dragged me out of my self-pity for hikes and reluctant beers began the slow work of healing. I started to see Maya's decision less as a reflection of my inadequacy and more as a reflection of her priorities, her fears, her definition of a successful life. I had offered love, loyalty, creativity, partnership. If that wasn't enough, if it paled against the allure of material status, then maybe we were never truly meant to last. I channeled that pain back into my work, not to spite her, but for me. I took risks, pushed my creative limits, started freelancing. My income grew, not astronomically, but steadily. More importantly, my passion and confidence returned. I found joy again in the simple things, the satisfaction of a perfect design, the quiet solitude of a mountain trail, the comforting flicker of an old film. I rebuilt my life, brick by careful brick, on a foundation of self-respect, not external validation. I dated cautiously, but my main focus was creating a life I was proud of on my own terms. A few more years spun by. I was now a senior designer at a well-regarded agency. Not Marcus rich, but comfortable, respected, and genuinely content. My apartment was bigger, brighter, filled with my art and thriving plants, a space that felt truly mine. The scar from Maya remained, but it was a faded line, a reminder of lessons learned, not an open wound. Then, one evening, my phone pinged. A message request on a social platform I rarely checked. Maya Reyes. My breath caught. Old pain flickered, unwelcome, but curiosity won out. What could she possibly want? I opened the message. Alex? Hi, it's Maya. I know it's been a long time, and I probably have no right, but I was wondering if you might be willing to talk sometime, maybe grab a coffee? A storm of emotions, surprise, caution, a strange detachment. I typed back a simple, okay, when and where. We met days later, full circle, back at the daily grind. The symmetry felt odd. Maya looked worn. The polish was still there, but thinner. Shadows under her eyes, her expensive suit looking slightly tired. She nervously fiddled with her coffee spoon. Thanks for meeting me, Alex. I wasn't sure you would. I was curious, I admitted honestly, keeping my voice even. She took a shaky breath. Look, Alex, I messed up, royally. Marcus, it didn't work out. Her voice wobbled. It was great at first, the lifestyle, the security, everything I thought I wanted. But it felt empty. And then, well, I found out he wasn't exactly exclusive. She swallowed hard. He cheated, Alex. Lied for years. Used me financially, too. I finally left him a few months back. It's been rough. She looked up then, eyes swimming with tears. Leaving you was the biggest mistake I ever made. I was so stupid, Alex. Chasing status, money. I thought that was happiness. Marcus had it all, but he was cold, hollow. You were kind. You were real. You loved me, not my job title. Her hand crept across the table towards mine. I've thought so much. About us. About what matters. I miss you, Alex. I miss us. I was hoping. Maybe. Could we try again? I've changed. I see things so differently now. I looked at her. The girl who once held my entire world in her smile. The woman who shattered it. I saw her regret, her desperation. I remembered the shy kid I was, who would have sold his soul just for her attention. I remembered the man who loved her unconditionally, only to be told he wasn't enough. And I felt calm. A deep, settled calm. I gently moved my hand away before she reached it. Maya, I began, my voice soft but clear. I appreciate your honesty, and I am genuinely sorry for what you went through with Marcus. Nobody deserves that. I paused, choosing my words carefully. But us? That chapter is closed. When you left, you chose what you valued then. It hurt me deeply, more than you know. But I healed, Maya. I rebuilt. I learned my own worth, separate from any job or bank balance. I learned what I need: real trust, mutual respect, being valued for who I am. I met her tear-filled gaze directly. In a way, you leaving forced me to do that. It forced me to grow up, to find my own strength. I've built a life I love now, Maya, and it doesn't involve trying to reheat leftovers from the past. Tears spilled freely down her cheeks now. But people change, Alex. I know I hurt you, but I'm not that person anymore. Don't people deserve second chances? Sometimes, I conceded gently. But second chances don't erase history, or the fundamental reasons things ended. You left me because I wasn't established enough. You're back because the established guy turned out to be a cheat. I can't be your fallback plan, Maya. I won't be the consolation prize. I deserve better than that. And honestly, so do you. You need to figure out what you truly want, not just run back to what's familiar because you're hurting. I stood up, placing some cash on the table for our coffees. I truly wish you well, Maya. I hope you find real happiness, but you won't find it by looking backwards, and you won't find it with me. I've moved on. I gave her one last look, not angry, not bitter, just final, a quiet closure settling over me. Then I turned and walked out of the coffee shop, leaving behind the ghost of my teenage crush, the flawed memory of our love, and the woman who broke my heart. Outside, the sun had finally burned through the clouds. I took a deep breath of the clean, rain-washed air. I felt lighter than I had in years. Free. No longer the invisible boy, no longer the heartbroken man. Just me, Alex Johnson, walking towards my own future. A future I'd built with my own hands, on my own terms. And it felt good. It felt right.